Hello, this is Louise Hay. Another morning has arrived, and with it, a sacred doorway opens. Before the demands of the day reach for me, before the world reminds me of who I was yesterday, I pause. I welcome myself into this moment with love. There is something holy about the very first breath of a new day. The sky is still soft. The light is just beginning to stretch. And deep inside me, the space between sleep and waking is tender and alive. It is here in this still, receptive place that I begin again. I do not need to rush. I do not need to know everything yet. I do not even need to solve anything. My only job in this moment is to meet the morning with presence. The way I begin my morning is the way I teach life how to treat me. This is not just a poetic phrase. It is the deep truth of energy. The tone I set within myself now becomes the invitation I send to the rest of the day. And that tone begins not with the tasks ahead, but with the state I choose to be in while moving through them. Each morning is a sacred threshold, a bridge between my inner world and the life I am creating. What I think, feel, and affirm during these early minutes ripples outward into every encounter, every conversation, every opportunity. And so I choose, as gently as I can, to make this first moment a loving one. When I open my eyes, my subconscious mind is still listening. It is still wide open, soft like morning light, quiet like still water. This is the moment when my thoughts matter most. What I say to myself now is not just a passing idea. It is a seed planted deep in the soil of my consciousness. This moment is a quiet doorway into a new way of living, and I choose to walk through that doorway slowly. I bring kindness with me. I do not rush. I do not grab my phone. I do not measure the value of this day by the number of tasks waiting for me. Instead, I begin with the one thing that creates all other things, my inner state. If I begin the morning in fear, urgency, or comparison, I rehearse the same stress that wears down my body and closes off my joy. But if I begin in gentleness, in breath, in presence, then I interrupt every pattern that says I must earn my worth before I feel at peace. This is the real miracle. I get to choose again. Even if yesterday was difficult, even if I forgot who I was for a while, even if I fell into old stories this morning, I get to meet myself in a new way, not by forcing a new life, but by allowing a new state of being to rise naturally from within. I begin again before the world rushes in. There is no better time to realign with love, peace, and trust than this very moment while the day is still young, while the noise hasn't yet arrived. And so I reclaim this early hour not as selfishness, but as sacred preparation. This is the hour of wisdom, the hour of inner guidance, the hour when my energy is most pure, most tender, most powerful. I do not need to change the whole world in the next 12 hours. I only need to begin with the intention that I will not abandon myself in the process. I choose to show up for myself now before the meetings, the news, the inbox, the to-do list. Because if I do, the rest of life will show up for me in a new way. And so, gently, I place a hand on my heart. I breathe in deeply. I breathe out slowly. And I whisper the words that become the shape of my day. I choose to begin this day in presence. Now, with this tone, set not as pressure, but as peace, I am ready to explore the deeper choice that lies ahead. Do I want to react to this day, or do I want to create it from within? There is a moment that decides everything, and most of us miss it. It happens within seconds of waking. A familiar reflex takes over. The hand reaches out, almost automatically, to check the phone. Notifications, messages, headlines, to-do lists, and just like that, we're not in our bodies anymore. We're not in this new day. We're somewhere else entirely. We've slipped into reaction. In those first 5 minutes, the mind reaches for yesterday. It replays old stories, rehearses familiar stress, and resumes the very patterns we wish to change. Without even realizing it, we're breathing the air of fear, of pressure, of not enough before our feet even touch the floor. Reaction is the past in disguise. It's the voice that says, I need to fix everything now. It's the tension that whispers, I'm behind already. It's the tightness that comes from forgetting we have a choice. But we do have a choice, and that choice is alignment. Presence is not a luxury. It is the foundation of creation. Alignment means choosing our state before responding to the world. It means setting our inner compass not according to old fear, but according to new intention. When we are in alignment, we become creative beings, not reactive ones. We choose peace not because everything is perfect, but because peace is the only place from which we can see clearly. When we begin our day with alignment, something subtle but powerful shifts. We don't chase guidance, it arrives. We don't force answers, they reveal themselves. We don't repeat the past, we open the future. Our inner climate creates the weather of our day. Just as the earth responds to the sun, life responds to the frequency we hold. If I hold tension, the day feels tight. If I hold fear, I will find things to fear. But if I hold stillness, if I begin in peace, then my interactions, even the challenging ones, are shaped by that calm. And here is the truth that brings such compassion. The mind is not broken, it is simply conditioned. Our brains are wired for familiarity. They loop through known experiences. They cling to beliefs we did not choose. They return to fear, not because we are weak, but because we are practiced. But practice goes both ways. We can teach the mind a new rhythm. We can show it what it feels like to begin from stillness. We can install a different operating system each morning, one rooted in clarity, trust, and grounded energy. This is what ritual is. Not performance, not perfection, but conscious repetition with love. Each morning is not just a beginning, it's a decision. Do I let the day pull me back into the past? Or do I begin from the place I want to live? When I choose alignment, even in a whisper, even for one breath, I am choosing creation over habit. This doesn't mean resistance won't show up. It will. That ache in the chest, that voice that says, why bother? That pull to scroll, fix, run, prove, that's the past, asking to stay in charge. But I don't need to fight resistance. I only need to see it, to smile at it gently, and to choose again, not forcefully, but consciously. Repetition is not limitation. It is liberation. Every time I return to breath, to stillness, to truth, I train the nervous system in safety. I show my subconscious that something new is possible. I become the one who plants peace rather than inherits panic. And with time, this practice becomes natural. The phone is still there. The news still exists. The world still asks for my attention. But now, I arrive to it rooted. I respond instead of react. I choose instead of repeat. I begin the day as a creator, not a captive. And so again, softly, I place a hand to my heart. I close my eyes. I breathe in gently, and I remind myself, I choose my state. I begin in alignment. There is a gentle shift that changes everything. It is not effort. It is not striving. It is acceptance. Acceptance is often misunderstood. It is not giving up, and it is not settling for less. Acceptance is the moment we stop wrestling with the present and allow life to move. It is openness, not resignation. It is the softening that creates space for something new to arrive. When I try to make something happen, my body tightens, the jaw clenches, the breath shortens, the mind speeds up. I feel as though I must push the river to make it flow, and in that pushing, I exhaust myself. But when I accept, something very different occurs. The shoulders drop, the breath deepens, the inner struggle pauses. Acceptance is the moment I step aside and say, you may come in now. It is permission, and miracles respond to permission, not pressure. Life does not open when we demand. It opens when we allow. Acceptance is a skill. Like breathing more deeply or listening more closely, it must be practiced with kindness. At first, the mind resists. It has been trained to believe that control equals safety, that urgency equals importance. Yet acceptance teaches a new truth. Safety comes from trust. When I accept what is, I stop arguing with the moment. And when the argument ends, energy is freed. What was stuck begins to move. What felt delayed begins to unfold. Morning is the perfect time for this practice. It is a time of receiving breath, receiving stillness, receiving guidance before the noise of the world returns. Just as the body receives oxygen without effort, the spirit receives insight without force. There is a quiet wisdom in the morning air. It does not rush, It does not explain itself. It simply offers. And when I accept that offering, I discover something profound. What I allow can move faster than what I force. Acceptance does not mean I abandon my dreams. It means I stop chasing them as if they might run away. I let them come toward me in their own time, through their own doors. Urgency begins to dissolve. Quiet readiness takes its place. I do not need to become someone else before life blesses me. I do not need to improve myself into worthiness. I do not need to fix the present moment before I am allowed to receive from it. Acceptance says, this is enough to begin. In acceptance, I choose presence over self-improvement. I choose gentleness over correction. I choose to be here fully, rather than reaching for a version of myself that I imagine will finally be acceptable. This is where miracles find me, not when I am pushing forward, but when I am open. So I pause now. I breathe. I let the body soften into the chair, the bed, the floor. And from this open place, I speak the truth that unlocks the door. I accept miraculous occurrences in my world. I say it slowly. I let it land. I do not ask how. I do not demand proof. I simply accept. Acceptance does not shout. It whispers, and life listens. In this whisper, I feel the shift. The inner tension loosens. The need to control fades. I sense that something is already aligning in ways I cannot yet see. That is enough. I remain here open, receptive, present, knowing that what is meant for me moves more easily when I am no longer in its way. And so I stay. I allow. I receive. So many people ask for miracles while quietly rejecting themselves. They want healing, but they speak to their bodies with disappointment. They want love, but they speak to their hearts with shame. They want abundance, but they greet their reflection with criticism. And then they wonder why nothing is changing. The truth is simple and tender. It is nearly impossible to receive something beautiful while pushing yourself away. Miracles do not enter through pressure. They enter through welcome. And nothing in your life feels truly welcome until you are. Self-acceptance is not a reward for finally getting it right. It is the foundation that allows transformation to begin at all. If I wake up each day and mentally scold myself, telling myself I am behind, broken, unworthy, how could my heart ever feel safe enough to open? How could my body begin to heal if it is constantly bracing for attack? Criticism is not a path to progress. It is a closed door. Self-attack says to life, I'm not ready yet. I'm not safe yet. I don't deserve better yet. But self-acceptance speaks a different truth. I am here. I am willing. I am open. That soft opening, the willingness to hold ourselves in kindness even before anything changes, is what invites the first real shift. You cannot bully a flower into blooming. You cannot shame a wound into healing. You cannot punish yourself into peace. What you can do is love yourself forward. When growth is fueled by rejection, it feels like pressure, perfectionism, burnout. When growth is fueled by love, it feels like unfolding, discovery, ease. You do not need to force yourself to become a better version of you. You only need to stop treating yourself as if you're unacceptable now. The nervous system listens carefully. It listens to your tone of voice. It listens to your expectations. It listens for signs of danger, and it listens for signs of love. When self-acceptance is present, the whole body relaxes. The chest opens, the breath deepens, the heart softens, the mind becomes quiet, and from that quiet, new possibilities begin to emerge. This is not false positivity. This is not pretending that things don't need to shift. This is choosing to be the kind of environment where growth is actually possible. You do not create healing by making yourself wrong. You create healing by making yourself safe. Imagine a small child who has made a mistake. Does that child transform because they were screamed at? Or do they change because they are met with understanding? The same is true for you. The moment you stop saying, "I'll accept myself when I'm better," and start saying, "I accept myself now so that I can become better," something unlocks. Improvement does not stop when you accept yourself. It begins because when you believe that you are worthy now, as you are, you stop fighting yourself. And when the fight ends, energy is released. That energy becomes creativity, courage, compassion. That energy becomes the momentum for a different kind of life. So today, instead of rushing into self-improvement, I choose something quieter. I place my hand over my heart. I take a breath and I say, I accept myself. I welcome myself. I am safe to grow. This is how I begin. Not by chasing worth, not by proving value, but by resting in the truth that has always been mine. I am already enough to begin. Gratitude is not a checklist. It is a state of being. It is not reserved for after everything works out. It is the vibration that allows things to begin working out. So many people wait until the problem is solved before allowing themselves to feel grateful. But gratitude is not the result of miracles, it is the invitation. Gratitude opens the door to receive. When I start the day in appreciation, even quiet, humble appreciation, I place myself on the frequency of support. I begin to see what's already working. My breath is steady. The floor is beneath me. My heart has carried me through years of unknowns. The day is waiting with possibility, even if I cannot see it yet. These are not small things. These are the signs of life moving through me and for me. Gratitude says, I see what's here. I recognize what's working. I am willing to acknowledge that I am already supported, is bordy. Even the smallest moments, the feeling of warm water, the pause between two thoughts, the smile from a stranger, the calm after a long cry, these are miracles we forget to notice. We are not waiting for good to arrive. Good is already here, quietly present. Gratitude makes it visible, but how we speak also shapes our readiness to receive. Most people don't realize how subtly their language closes the door to miracles. The words "I want" are filled with longing but also with lack. They say to life, "It's not here yet," and often, "I don't believe it's coming." The subconscious hears that message as a command. Distance, absence, delay, but the words "I accept" tell a different story. I accept does not deny desire. It places the self in the position of receiving. I accept abundance. I accept love. I accept miraculous occurrences in my world. These are not demands. They are gentle permissions. They don't force, they welcome. Just like the body softens when it knows it is safe, life begins to move when it knows you are open. This is not about tricking yourself or pretending. This is about trusting that readiness is a valid signal, that you don't have to beg, push, or prove. You can speak gently. You can feel your breath. You can say, "I trust life. I trust timing. I trust that what I've asked for is already on its way." Because miracles are rarely loud. They don't arrive with fanfare and flashing lights. They arrive quietly, like a shift in emotion, a deep exhale, a moment of clarity, a sense of peace where anxiety used to live. Those are miracles. They are the proof that your inner world is transforming and that life is responding in kind. Gratitude and language are not performance. They are posture, a gentle way of holding yourself, a kind way of standing in your life, a quiet willingness to stop arguing with the moment. When I no longer resist, when I no longer demand that everything look a certain way before I feel safe or happy, I become open to surprises, and life loves to surprise the open-hearted. Today, I choose to be in that posture of trust. I pause. I place my hand on my heart, and I whisper, "I accept miraculous occurrences in my world, not because I earned them, not because I fought for them, but because I am willing to believe in a life that responds to love." You do not need to see the whole path to take the next step. You don't need every answer before you begin again. You only need a quiet willingness, a breath of space, a small yes to life. Trust is not loud. It does not shout its presence or demand certainty. It whispers, "Even without knowing everything, I will begin. Even without proof, I choose peace. Even with old fear nearby, I am willing to believe that something new is possible." There is no rush. There is no timeline. There is only the choice to meet this moment gently, without struggle. This is what changes a life. Not force, not urgency, not perfection, but a shift in energy, a new tone, a sense of cooperation with life instead of conflict. You are not meant to fight your way through. You are not meant to beg for peace, or prove your worth, or solve everything before breakfast. You are allowed to begin again with softness, with curiosity, with trust. Every morning, you are given a blank page. You can write the same story, or you can pause breathe, and choose a new tone. This is where miracles begin, not in drama or grand displays, but in relief where tension used to live, in clarity where confusion ruled, in ease where struggle dominated. That is a miracle. That is healing. That is the shift you've been waiting for, and it begins with one small gesture. Choosing kindness toward yourself first thing in the morning, not rushing, not blaming, not returning to yesterday's fears before you've even opened your eyes, but instead beginning your day with gentleness, with breath, with quiet appreciation, with words that soothe rather than scare. Affirmations are not a performance. They are not about faking belief or bypassing emotion. They are a new rhythm, a steady drumbeat that says to your heart and your body, you are safe, you are not behind, you are allowed to feel good. I know. And the more often you hear those words from yourself, the more your nervous system softens, the more your inner landscape begins to shift, and the more life itself begins to mirror that change. Because life responds to your willingness, to your readiness, to your quiet trust. This is not about getting it perfect. This is about showing up honestly with love, even in uncertainty, even in discomfort, even when old patterns whisper otherwise. So let today be enough. Let this small moment of presence be enough. Let your breath, your hand on your heart, your whispered yes to life be enough. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not broken. You are here, and that is everything. Now breathe. Feel the support of the ground beneath you. Feel the softness of your own presence. And speak these words not to make something happen, but to affirm your readiness. I am willing. I am open. I trust life, and I accept miraculous occurrences in my world. Let this be your quiet prayer, your personal truth, your sacred rhythm, not because you must get it right, but because you are allowed to feel good, because you are worthy of joy, because you are ready, not perfect, but present. And in that presence, miracles begin.